Hello friends, welcome to Notebook Videos. In this video, we shall be covering the various aspects of fiscal policy and its effects on an economy. In other words, we shall look at ways by which fiscal policy change aggregate demand in an economy. We'll begin with the definition of fiscal policy. Fiscal policy refers to the policies used by the government to stabilize an economy. During recessionary periods, when the economy suffers, the government uses expansionary fiscal policy to mitigate fluctuations in the economy. So fiscal policy is used to stabilize the booms and busts of an economy. In other words, it evens out the booms and the busts. But let's think a bit harder and see how this expansionary policy stabilizes an economy. Let's look at an example of full employment and recession. Imagine an economy operating at full employment where aggregate demand curve is equal to the aggregate supply and the economy produces equilibrium level of output. This is the level of full employment where all resources are engaged and the economy is functioning optimally. This means that workers have jobs and factories are working at near capacity. Now suppose the government wants to build roads with increased spending indicative of expansionary fiscal policy. It would simply mean that it would have to draw resources from other sectors of the economy to build the same road. It would have to pull out resources from producers and consumers. This would then simply transfer resources from one sector to another, contributing to no real growth in GDP. Government spending would simply be crowding out private spending. So given the economy is operating at full employment level, the increase in government spending would not stimulate the economy in the short run. But is it the same during recession? Of course not. During recession, there are many people waiting for jobs and firms are underutilized. Machine and capital sits idle. In this case, an increased government spending on a new road would probably stimulate GDP as it would help create jobs and engage capital and firms. You may also recollect that we have used the concept of expenditure in our previous discussions where government expenditure was part of the equation and how the 45-degree line actually equates national income and aggregate expenditure of the economy. Expansionary and contractionary fiscal policies can well be illustrated with these curves. We already know that any change in autonomous spending increases the aggregate demand. This would raise income and shift the curve upwards. With this shift in the curve, national income rises from Y1 to Y2. So what we understand from here is that fiscal policy may be used to regulate the three main macroeconomic objectives: full employment, stable prices, and economic growth. Our objective of this lesson is to find out ways by which the government achieves these objectives. Examples of full employment and recession may have already given you the idea that fiscal policies have to be appropriately used for the right results. The government has expansionary and contractionary government policies. With expansionary government policies, it induces money into the economy, and reverse happens with contractionary policies. Expansionary policies can happen with increase in G or decrease in taxes, and contractionary policies are associated with decrease in G or increase in taxes. Let's see how these policies affect the national income equation. An increase in G here increases GDP, and the same is caused by a fall in taxes. Fall in taxes actually increase consumers' disposable income and therefore spending in the economy. So, this is expansionary fiscal policy and is used to balance a drop in consumption or investment in the economy. Similarly, how does the government use its contractionary fiscal policy? It would simply do the reverse, reduce G or increase T, and in this way, aggregate expenditure can be reduced in the economy. Remember, my friends, that taxes used in the GDP equation are lump sum taxes and do not depend on income. However, these taxes have to be paid with the personal income of every individual who has taxable income in the economy. But that was not how we had defined the consumption equation earlier in our previous chapters. Initially, we had defined consumption equal to autonomous and dependent component of disposable income. When lump sum tax is imposed, the consumption function changes slightly. The disposal component of income needs to also eliminate the lump sum tax that the economy has to pay for and add in transfers made to all the individuals in the economy by the government. So it looks like C is equal to C0 plus CYD, C0 plus C Y plus TR minus TL, where YD is equal to disposable income, C0 autonomous consumption, TR transfers made by the government, TL lump sum tax. This would therefore also impact the AE equation. Let's also quickly define transfer payments here. Transfer payments are payments that lead to changes in consumer income. When most of the transfers are spent in the economy, it raises economic output. Putting all these factors in the AE equation, we simply get an augmented equation containing MPC multiplied to the result of Y plus TR minus TL instead of just Y. Depending upon the values of TR and TL, AE increases or falls in the economy. A multiplier term can be deduced from the AE equation, and this is Y is equal to 1 over 1 minus C minus CTL plus CTR plus I plus G. This result can be used to calculate the multiplier effect on government spending. Let's say there is an increase in G by rupees 30 in billions and AE rises, which shifts the curve upwards. Ceteris paribus, that is, all other factors remaining constant, Y would increase by rupees 100 in billions. Here Y is equal to final value of Y minus initial value of Y, which equals to 100 in billions. Final value and initial value cancels out all terms except the G term. That is, change in national income is given by delta Y is equal to 1 over 1 minus C delta G, and thus delta Y over delta G is equal to 1 over 1 minus C. This is called the spending multiplier. Here we see from the graph that delta change in national income is rupees 100 in billions for an increased investment of rupees 30 in billions. So MPC has the value of 100 by 30, which equals to 1 over 1 minus C. Thus C is equal to 0.7. The marginal propensity to save in the economy is 0.7 in this case. Remember, most of the increase in government spending we discussed are attributed to supply goods and services that the private sector is unable to produce, inclusive of roads, bridges, hospitals, and the like. They are also used as welfare payments and benefits such as PDS or ration, and for other kinds of disability benefits. My friends, fiscal regulators can therefore change aggregate demand with the use of rise in government spending. Such changes can also be made with use of taxes, but for that, we'll have to move on to our next video. Till then, goodbye and thanks.